Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I've been able to make any videos, but you know what you gonna do. Uh, I I didn't do it, but my brother broke my mic once again. That's the second time that mic is. I'm not even gonna try to do anything with that. I'm on my laptop. It sucks. So I'm gonna probably be doing most of my reading commentary on here. And today we're gonna read a creepy pasta. Oh my god. I know, right? Okay. So, today we're reading a Pokemon creepypasta called Absol. I did read this one before. It's a bit long. So, well, it's long for me because I don't read very much, but, you know. I'm gonna try to do it all in this 15-minute time span. And it starts off here. I hate Absol. Hate them with a passion. Not because of what they are, but what they stand for. My whole life, I've been seeing them. Rather, it's actually just one. Every time I see it, someone I cares about dies. I saw the Absol for the first time when I was only 6 years old. My mother and I were taking a walk in the woods near our house. It was a large forest, and it had, I'm going to say this totally wrong, it's next actually, all sorts of small Pokemon. Seedot, Oshawott, Zigzagoon, Tello, a few Pochi. See, this is the part I was gonna mess up. And even the occasional Mariel. I loved walking in those woods with my mother and seeing all the little creatures run about. My mother always brought her Linon Breeze. Breeze. It's the name of the Pokemon, I guess. Yeah. To walk alongside us in case we were ever attacked. But we never were. Breeze was a quiet, gentle Pokemon, and very kind to me and my brother and sister. She never got upset when we spilled juice on her, or bit us when we might have pulled on her fur by accident. She was always calm and relaxed. That day, when we were walking through the woods, everything was still and quiet. We hadn't seen any of the usual Pokemon. All of a sudden, all of a sudden, Breeze curled up into a tiny ball and started growling and whimpering, pure fear shining in her bright blue eyes. "What's wrong, Breeze?" my mother asked, trying to soothe the rattling balloon. Breeze, the rattled balloon breeze. Okay, whatever. I followed where Breeze's eyes were pointing, and it was then I saw it, perched on a log, directly in the center of a sun-truffled clearing, was an Absol. I didn't know what it was at the time. It looked lighter than air, like the slightest wind might blow it over. It was on its toes, ready to spring up and flee at any moment. My mother's mouth hung open in awe of this strange and beautiful creature. My mother didn't wait. Oh, my mouth. Okay, just ignore that. No, my mother didn't see it. She was occupied. Sorry, I had to pause the video. I'm just gonna reread that little part. My dad tried to come in. My mouth hung open in awe of this strange and beautiful creature. My mother didn't see it. She was too occupied with trying to pacify Breeze. I suddenly snapped out of my stupor. "Mama! Mama! A Pokemon! A Pokemon! A big white one! Mama!" I hollered. My mother sat up. "Where?" I turned around again, pointing at a pudgy figure at the clearing. "Right over there." Where did it go?" The creature was gone. Breeze stood up again, barking at the spot where I'd been pointing, before tearing off into the woods. "Breeze, no! Wait!" my mother cried, before sighing. Linen was gone. "What did the Pokemon look like, Mickey?" "It was big and white and fluffy, and it had big black claws and a black tail,
and a black horn on its head to match.
My mother's hands flew to her mouth, and her eyes widened.
Honey, that was an Absol. We have to get home and call your father. But Breeze... No buts. Breeze is smart. She can find her own way home. We have to go now.
Shocked at my mother's abruptness, I meekly let her drag me home by my arm. I didn't know what was going on, but if it had anything to do with my father, it had to be important. My father traveled most of the time, and he wasn't home very often, but always brought us the nicest gifts when he found time to come home to his family. Soon we were home. My mother raced to the phone, her fingers flying over the buttons as she dialed in the numbers. She was almost completely silent for several long minutes, her ear pressed to the phone, with her only sounds being grunts and a few words here and there. Then suddenly she began to sob. Young as I was, I knew something was wrong, even as she hung up the phone, trying to contain herself.
Mama, what happened to Daddy?
My mother looked up, her eyes red, before hugging me and beginning to sob again. It was then I knew my father was never coming back. My father had been in Lily Cove City, staying at the hotel there. He had been there to visit Mount Pierre, I hope I'm saying that right, and catch some Pokemon indigenous to that area, as well as check out the Safari Zone. However, one night he decided to go for a cruise. The captain of the boat was drunk and ran the ship up on the rocks. There were no survivors. All we had to remember my father was his mighty Grim, who he had left in his hotel room. And I swear to God, these Pokemon names, and the gift that he had been going to bring back for me. He had caught me my very own Pokemon, the beautiful female Vulpix he had captured on Mount Pierre. I named her Firefox. Ironic. It was amazing to finally have my own Pokemon. My brother Alex, who was 3 years older than me, had his electric Jolt. Electric. I don't understand that. My sister Eva, who was 2 years younger than me, had her Skitty, Lush. And now I finally had my own Pokemon. And I felt that in her, in my precious Firefox, a tiny piece of my father lived on. The second time I saw the Absol was 2 years later, when I was 8. I was playing in the backyard with my sister and our Pokemon. Our brother was in the front yard with his Manistic. He'd been asking to keep to the other side of the house because he was training his Pokemon, and Schultz was a good bit stronger than either of our Pokemon. I remember it quite clearly. He was dressed up in eye patch and bandages and fake peg legs. We were. Even our Pokemon. And we were all pretending to be pirates searching for buried treasure. We were making believe that the occasional bolts of lightning dancing away from the front of the lawn were an approaching storm, a typical child's game. I was supervising as my loyal Firefox swapped the deck with her tail, when I chanced to look up. Straight ahead of me, not more than 20 feet away, was the Absol. It was the same one from all those years ago. I don't know how I knew, but I did. Strange. My Vulpix noticed that. I had stopped giving orders, looked up to see what it was I was staring at, and saw it too. The beast gave a low, gulping growl of its own name, and suddenly we heard a blood-curdling scream from the front yard. Accompanied by a shock of lightning, the Absol fled into the woods. Without missing a beat, I turned to my sister. Eva! Quickly, go get Mama! I'll check on Alex. She nodded dumbly. It's gonna be. And ran inside the house. In seconds, in the front yard, Firefox at my side. The sight I was met with was a grim one. My brother was pinned under a fallen tree, screaming and trying to struggle away as Jolt manfully tried to lift the wooden colossus off of his broken body. Firefox! Go help Jolt! I cried. She immediately obeyed, and I ran to my brother to see if I could help get him to calm down. As I was doing so, the efforts of my Vulpix and I were joined by strength of Breeze and Grim. Yes, Breeze came home that night. She was injured and shaky, but almost fainted, but she was alive. My mother and sister quickly followed, joining us in the front yard. In minutes, we had the tree off of him, mainly thanks to Grim's move strength. The hospital was called, and Alex was taken away. It didn't look good. 8 broken ribs, a fractured collarbone, his spine and neck were badly cracked, and both of his legs and his hips were shattered. Apparently, while my brother had been training, he had failed to notice a lightning rod embedded in one of the trees. One of Jolt's attacks had been pulled to it, and the old tree was too weak to remain standing, and fell on Alex. The doctors couldn't save him. One of his ribs punctured his lung, and they couldn't fix him in time to prevent him from drowning in his own blood. He died at the hospital that very night. I'd lost my father, and just 2 years later, my beloved older brother was taken from me. I was there when he died. I stayed at his bedside until the very end. I can remember his last words. You know, it's sad, Mickey. I always thought I'd be a gym leader. For a long time, my mother and my sister and my dear little Vulpix were my only comfort. I frequently cried myself to sleep holding my Firefox in my arms. I decided to call that Absol Reaper. It seemed an appropriate name for a herald of death. It was another year before Reaper brought his unwelcoming presence back into my life. My sister had just left on the school bus. I wasn't going to school that day. I wasn't feeling well, but I can still remember the picture of her smiling and boarding the bus, Skitty peeking out of her backpack. I was watching the vehicle disappear onto the road, waving all the way, and then suddenly Reaper was there. He's sitting on the rock across the street, watching me. I blinked, my arm frozen in midair, and my blue-gray blanket still clutched tightly around my shoulders. Suddenly the ground was rocked by a huge explosion. I whipped my head around, staring at the bus. And I only have 2 minutes left on the video, so I'm gonna try to get through maybe another couple sentences. The entire vehicle is in flames. A huge... Wait, no, wait. Oh. A mushroom cloud of smoking billowed up from it. I don't even worry about anything. I dropped my blanket and began to run down the road, hoping to see if my sister or anyone else was okay. Save them if I had to. I had a fire-type Pokemon. I was used to a burn or two. It was still quite far away when there was a second explosion. This one knocked me off my feet. I fell to the ground crying, covered in dust, and too shocked and upset to get up. Even though I was only 9, I knew that no one could have survived that explosion. I looked back towards the house, trying to see if my mother was coming, but the only thing on my mind could register was that Reaper was gone again. Okay, I'd say we're about halfway through the video, and we end right there. I'm going to save this and upload it, and probably make another video for this. So, look for 2 parts, yeah. And I love you guys, I guess. See you later, you glitches, and that's eventually just gonna get annoying. Bye, I guess. This has been Beam Bullseye, Flying Tick. See you later. Hello and welcome back. If you watched the first part of, I gotta stop talking. Uh, yeah, we're reading Absol, as you can probably see in the title. I just made a playlist. Let's Not Sleep Tonight with Flying Tick, reading creepypasta. I don't know the exact name, but that's close enough to it. And let's get back into it. Where was I? Right there at the bottom. Reaper was gone again. The fire department was called and the street was filled with firemen. For the next 2 hours, everyone in the bus was killed, as I had thought. I seriously need to look more lively instead of hold my head up like I'm about to fall asleep. Over the next week or two, we gathered bits and pieces of information. It was almost a whole month before the town had figured out what had happened. One of the high school jocks, wanting to look cool, had brought a Voltor onto the bus. His siblings had seen him sneak it inside his backpack as he left the house, but for a long time was too scared to say anything. After he had snuck the volatile Pokemon on the bus, he and his friends started taunting it, thinking it was funny. The creature became angry and used his signature move, self-destruct. That was the first explosion. The second explosion was when the flames reached the gas tank. My sister and many of her friends had been killed, the event scaring the whole town. No one really talked about it, but there was a silent recognition that hung in the air for months, sharing the hurts of the fact does that make sense? That most of us had lost a friend or relative in that tragedy. I became a very solemn child, almost as solemn, almost as sorrowful as my mother. I was in great pain, but I can't even imagine what it was like for her, losing her husband and all but one of her children in 3 short years. My darling Firefox was my only joy left. She was so sweet, always trying her hardest to cheer me up and make me laugh. I never did laugh. It was I was hurting too bad for that, but I made sure that she knew I appreciated her trying. For 3 years I was solemn. For 3 years Firefox did her best to bring me joy. For 3 years I felt peace, a grim, ugly kind of peace, a peace full of finality, finality, the kind of feeling you get when you just had a victory, but at a cost. But 3 years of peace nonetheless. For 3 years I thought that death was over. For 3 years I was dead wrong. The peace, the peace. The day was overcast and gloomy. It perfectly suited my mood. Earlier I had found a box of some of my siblings' things, and so my head was clouded with the sorrow of their deaths. I was walking through the backyard, hoping the fresh air would clear my head a little. Firefox was trying to cheer me up as usual. She was doing something particularly funny today. She had found an old hat and scarf of my mother's and was strutting around wearing them like she was a supermodel. It was so cute and looked so funny, and she was just trying so hard for me that for the first time in years I almost felt happy. As she walked by the well, she jumped on the edge and began sauntering around on 2 legs, pretending to be like it was a catwalk. She looked so comical doing it, and the edge of my face began to crack a little as I finally gave a pained smile. My eyes were watering with the borderline of what were almost tears, but I was ever so slightly smiling. And then I saw him, two burning red eyes peeking out of the trees around the lawn. It was Reaper. Suddenly Firefox began to stumble. She was slipping on a wet patch of moss on the well's edge. I realized what was about to happen, and I dove for her. Firefox! No! I was a half a second too late. My fingers just pushing. I think that's supposed to be brushing. Her tail as she disappeared down the well, hitting the water 10 feet below with a splash. I reacted instantly, dropping the bucket down. Firefox, grab the bucket! Jump in! I felt the end of the rope gain weight, and then it was gone. For a split second, before returning, and it was gone again. It was a full minute before there was a consistent weight present in the bucket below, but as soon as there was, the splashing was gone. Panic took full control as I pulled the bucket back up as fast as I can. In it lay my Vulpix, waterlogged and barely breathing. She was a fire type, she couldn't handle being in the water that long. Ah, Jesus, I need a drink. That was that, and the very heavy liquid filling her lungs was quickly killing her. My Firefox, my precious Pokemon, was dying. I hoisted her up. I hoisted her out of the bucket, sobbing, and held her tightly to my chest. Firefox, please, no. Please, don't leave me. I need you. You're all I've got left, I begged. Her eyes opened just slightly, looking at me. Please, Firefox, we can't die. As soon as I finish school, you and me, we're going to go everywhere together. Please, don't go. You can't leave. I love you. I sobbed, holding her tighter, as if that would keep life in her body. She smiled at me weakly, and her eyes slid shut again. Her small chest heaving one last time, and she was gone. And I broke down. Firefox was all I had left. And now she was gone too. So my pain, and through the endless tears running down my cheeks, I noticed only one thing. The red eyes that had appeared between the trees had disappeared. We buried her in the backyard. I saw to it that she got a good funeral. Just as good as any person would have gotten. I brought her flowers, roses to be exact. Roses to be exact. Lots of them. They were her favorite. Jesus, I'm emotional. Okay. My mother and I lit all sorts of candles, and we read from the Bible as we lowered her body into the hole Breeze had made with Dig. Does that really need to be there? It kills me. After that, I lost myself. I stole hundreds of packages of cigarettes and lost track of my days. Oh, we're almost at the end. My life dissolved into hours upon hours of chain-smoking cigarettes after cigarettes. I knew that weak lungs ran in my family, but I didn't care that I was killing myself. I had nothing left to live for. It didn't matter to me if I died of old age or died locked in a smoky, cigarette bud covered with bedroom. Now I'm 13. He's a lot younger than I thought. I was confined to my bed I am confined to my bed with severe lung cancer. Okay, I knew this would happen, but I didn't care. I still don't. My mother doesn't care either. She hasn't been right in the head since my sister died. She probably won't ever even notice I'm gone, and if she does, I can only hope she'll respect my wish to die. It hurts to think, it hurts to talk, it hurts to breathe. I'm almost too weak to type this, but I type this because I don't think I'll be here much longer. I wanted someone to find this just because I want someone out there to know. I've been refusing the treatments, and the doctors aren't sure how long I have left, but now I know I have very little time. Why? Reaper just appeared outside my window. He's staring straight at me. And that is the end of this creepypasta Absol, as I break the mood trying not to cry as I am deep into emotion, and the more emotional something I read, and the more emotional I actually read it, my eyes will begin to water. Therefore, I am not a wimp, I am just cool like that, and tough men will cry if the tough man will cry. A tougher man will cry in front of a crowd, and a toughest man will cry whenever he's sad. This has been philosophy, apparently. Yes, this has been Absol from the Creepypasta Wiki, and if you want, I'll probably put the link in the description. Get a nice picture of, right there, the picture of Absol. Let's pop him up. He's totally cool. Now, what were your guys' thoughts? I still have 3 minutes of recording left, pretty much. This picture's not popping up either, so I guess that sucks. I'm still gonna move my camera. Why did my actual person disappear? I wonder. Okay. I think it's still recording me, but my person on my page disappeared. Hand top and bottom bars in place. Yeah, that's all I have to say. If this picture doesn't want to pop up, that's its own fault. And I'm being Bullseye, otherwise known as the Flying Tick, or Flying Tick 3840, as my gamertag says on Xbox Live. Uh, this has been the last part. I'm going to say that a million times just trying to kill time now. Uh, And if you want more videos, please subscribe. I'm not saying to subscribe because honestly I don't upload that often because my technology just is impairing right now. And no idea what to say next. I guess this will be bye for now. And comment below if you want a different creepypasta, like any kind of creepypasta, as long as you know it's going to be terrifying and probably worthy of the name of the playlist it belongs to. And if you want to make me, this is the thing, I need an intro and an outro, and I don't want those to be the same. And if anybody out there wants to spend their time making one of those, because I have no idea how to do all that fancy dancy stuff as good as I am with computers, uh, yeah, you can make me one of those, send it to me, and I'll use it, I promise. Now, if I get a lot of them, if I get more than one, I'll have to pick, obviously. But, like, maybe I'll pick a different video, because I do make different videos. I make gaming, creepypastas, apparently. Uh, I might do what my friend Gohan does, and try to read a poem occasionally. I want different things for, yeah. So, yeah, that was Absol, and goodbye. See you later. Okay, yeah, this is annoying. Glitches. This is a virus. See ya.